Alright guys, so we finally got our oil pump in, which means we can finish the engine and then go drop it in a day or two. So what you're going to want is an impact screwdriver because if you try and take these out on your own, it's going to strip these screws out. So you want the impact screwdriver, which you hold and then you tap with a hammer and it torques it and breaks these loose. And then you want to take this cover off. We're going to pack it with lubricant, put the cover back on, use that impact hammer in reverse, and then we can go ahead and get the sealant on this. I need to take some components off the engine, and then we'll basically finish the rest of this build. So here we go. So we unscrew all these. You can get this at Harbor Freight for like $10. Okay, so I'm just going to use my assembly lube. It should suffice plenty. It's what I use to put all the rockers in and lube up the camshafts and all that good stuff. So I'm just going to pack it in there. Rotate it a few times. Make sure it's all good and lubricated. Okay, just get all the excess off the top. There's still some lubricant in between those, so that'll stay in there for the first time it rotates. All right, and then we're ready to put that cover back on. Okay, so get some brake clean on here, clean up the surface. Perfect. So then this has a couple of dowel pins on it, so you want to just line those back up. And then I'm just going to gently tap it down. Make sure it's seated all the way around. We're looking good. Thread your screws back in. Okay, make sure they're all tight. Perfect. So I'm going to take all my timing components off. All right, take some brake clean. And just go around the surface and make sure everything is nice and clean. All right. Then we're going to do the same with our oil pump. Get it as contaminant free as you possibly can. you're just going to lay a thin bead around it. Okay, so we're going to put this O-ring on where the oil pump is going to go. What I like to do just to make sure it absolutely 100% stays in place is in a couple spots just put a tiny bit of the gasket maker just to create that sticky effect. Just make sure there's not a lot to where it's going to ooze out and block that port. Just enough to make it stick and guarantee it's going to stay there. Because if this slips out while you're installing your oil pump, you will have a big oil leak from the oil pump. Okay, make sure there's nothing on there. All right, so it looks like we are ready to install our oil pump. So I've waited 15 minutes, I've let this tack up, so let's go ahead and get it on. We're going to get a little rubber mallet. Just to help because there's 2 dowel pins that this sits on. And you're gonna lube up your O-ring, your oil pump seal the slightest bit. Okay, so we got it started to be seated. Gonna start tapping it in. Just like that. Make sure your seal looks good around your oil pump. There is a crankshaft position sensor you will need to bolt in from your old oil pump once you get all these bolts in, so let's go ahead and do that. So there's 7 bolts, they're all the same size. So just get them threaded, get them started. So go in a star pattern and just get them cinched down, not tightened at all. Alright, so we'll figure out what torque spec it is and we'll get it torqued down. Okay, so the tightening torque is 4.7 foot-pounds. We're going to multiply that by 12 because we're going to do it in inch-pounds to get it more accurate. So 4.7 times 12, so 56.5 inch-pounds. So we'll just go 57, 58, somewhere around there. So let's get this adjusted. So that's 40, 50, 5, 6, 7. Almost 58, so about 57.5. Then we'll get the proper socket. All right, make sure you go on a star pattern here, as much of one as you can, and then torque them all down, count your 7, and then just go around in a circle and do it one more time just to verify. Perfect. Now your oil pump is torqued down. All right, we're gonna get this piece of our timing cover back on. Perfect. And we're gonna get this line bolted on. We can sink down these bolts up top here. We've got our crankshaft position sensor that will go in. Make sure it's nice and clean. Should slide right in. Okay, so I've got thread locker on all my timing belt components. So we'll go ahead and throw all those on. They're going to be 14s. Okay, so now we're going to time our engine. We'll see how easy this is compared to a dual overhead cam. So you've got, let's see here. Use a yellow crayon. This is your timing mark for this pulley. Okay? It's that seam. It's not the valve cover gasket seam. It's the seam just to the right of that. So you want to line this timing mark up with that. This mark is just off-centered to the right. There's a little notch right below the crankshaft position sensor, so you want to line that mark off. It's like 2 or 3 degrees off of straight up. So there's that, and then you've got a pretty clear timing mark here. There's a notch in the timing cover, so you want to make sure all your pulleys are lined up perfectly. Then you've got 3 marks on this belt. You want to make sure you can read the belt, so have it facing the right way. You've got your passenger side camshaft pulley crankshaft, which is the dotted one, and the driver's side crankshaft pulley, camshaft pulley. Getting the mark lined up on the crankshaft. We're going to wrap that up and around to go to the passenger side pulley. And then we're going to give this some slack. We're going to line this up right here. Then we're going to come around and we're going to try and give ourselves some room to get around this. I'm going to try and take this slack and come around here. So we're lined up on all 3. I need to crank this camshaft back the other way very, very gently. Okay, we got thread locker on this thread here. So we're going to come in here, get it started by hand. So I know I have this timed up properly. This tooth looks a tiny bit off. Not sure exactly why that is. It was the same thing on my dual overhead cam. I can guarantee this will fire up and run great. So we're just gonna put the timing cover on and be done with it because I just fought with that for like 45 minutes and I'm kind of over it. So I'm confident. The guy in the video made it look so easy. That was a pain in the ass. Let's torque everything back down. We're gonna go 29 foot-pounds on everything. We're still set up to that here. Oh, it's all got thread locker. Cool. All right, so then what you want to do is you want to check all around, make sure you're completely sealed up, because you want this entire assembly fully sealed as best as you possibly can. So that's why it's important to replace the seals from your gasket kit. Okay, we're going to put this cover on. Make sure it's all clean inside, obviously. And it's fairly common sense, but when I did my first rebuild, I didn't have a lot of common sense because I didn't know about these engines. You don't want to go too tight and end up breaking this. Alright, so we got that all timed up. Need to get this crankshaft bolt out. Okay, now we can get the crankshaft pulley on. Give her a few ugga-duggas at 3. She's nice and tight. Okay, now we should be able to rotate our engine freely.